Hey everybody, the doors to the Viridian Tea House are open once more. Thank you so much for being a part of this little YouTube channel that I started. I appreciate each and every one of you viewing these videos. Offer me feedback when you can, which, by the way, if you have any questions about anything that I talk about, please send me an email. The email address is teagoddess, and that's TEA goddess 74@gmail.com. Any questions, concerns, things that I didn't discuss in depth or gave too much discussion about it, please just email me. I would love to hear feedback. Now, without further ado, here we go. So one book that I'm going to be talking about today is a book that I've wanted for quite some time. And I can't tell you how many times I thought about buying it, and then I didn't buy it, and then I tried to buy it, then I didn't buy it, and I said, you know what, sit near the bush, just go ahead and buy the book. And I'm so glad that I did. What am I talking about? Our first book review of the day is, cue the music, The Life of Tea, A Journey to the World's Finest Teas by Michael Freeman and Timothy. Get a good look at that. This book is amazing. Even if you're not into tea, but you're into photography or learning about world history or just wanting to read a good book, you cannot pass up The Life of Tea. You can tell that these people spent years working on this book. They had to. So I'm going to read from the back. Tea is now being sourced, served, and appreciated with as much connoisseurship as fine wine. The wine concept of terroir, the soil, climate, and other local conditions that give each wine its character, applies every bit as much to fine tea, in which connoisseurs enjoy reaching back through the cup to the land where the leaf grew. In The Life of Tea, documentary photographer Michael Freeman and tea expert Timothy explore the extraordinary reach of this drink. From Earth to Cup considers botany, the impact of geography, cultivation, and the processing methods which result in different types of tea, from white and green to oolong and pu'er. Tea Mountains and Monasteries reveals the extent of Michael and Timothy's travels in China, Japan, India, and Sri Lanka, featuring the producers of some of the world's finest teas and the characteristics which make these teas so sought after. The final chapter, Tea Towns and Culture, looks at the impact that tea has had and continues to have on culture, whether that is the architecture of spaces in which to enjoy tea or the intricate craftsmanship of teaware. This exploration of the world's finest teas, captured in extraordinary photography, brings alive the aroma, taste, and texture of this drink in all its many nuances, and will give connoisseurs and casual readers alike a much deeper understanding of how great tea is created. So true. Every word of that was very true. This book was actually published through Octopus Books. Looks like they have both a British and an American website. So if you are in the States, you can go to octopusbooksusa.com. If you are across the pond, it is octopusbooks.co.uk. Actually, let me see if I can show you some of the photography. Oh yeah, this was really cool. Let's see if I can find it again. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, so this is actually a tea retreat in China. You can just kind of see the photography. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm just gonna let that sit up there for just a minute, but this is absolutely beautiful. And then another photograph that I enjoyed, but this is very much an in-depth book regarding tea. Now, I spent 1.5 to 2 years, 2.5, off and on, in getting my certification as a tea specialist. And I will be honest, in reading this book, a lot of my lessons came back to me. And I also learned a lot of new things too. Let's see here. What's another really good photo? I mean, all the photos are just amazing, but I'm trying to find one in particular. Oh, actually, here's a tea plantation, so to speak. Whoops. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? Just beautiful, beautiful. And one more, and then I swear I'll be done. Let me find another one. Oh yeah, this is in Taiwan. It's a collector and connoisseur. Is preparing his tea in his museum in Pinglin, Taiwan. And check this out. Isn't that gorgeous? Like, the one thing that I noticed about this book is I felt at peace. I felt like I was meditating in a way. You know, I didn't want to devour the book like I normally do. I wanted to take my time with this. And so I studied each photograph. I read every word in this book. I read it. And it just, like I said, it took me back to my schooling regarding becoming a certified tea specialist. And it also made me just really appreciate the whole process of making tea, from the leaves to all the way to having it in your cup through loose leaf or bag. This book was a phenomenal read. Just absolutely beautiful, quiet, alluring, educational. It also made me realize that I do want to visit these countries one day. I know that we're dealing with COVID right now, but I would love to go to Japan and China and Taiwan and just, it's one thing to drink these teas and read the books and look at the photography, but it's another thing to actually go there. And I really hope to do that someday, but without getting too sentimental. So for The Life of Tea, I'm going to give it the highest rating of Viridian Tea House, which is a, uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. 5 cups of tea. Thank you guys so much for this wonderful book. It was an absolute delight and joy to read. Thank you so much. So once again, if you're interested, this is called The Life of Tea by Michael Freeman and Timothy Dauphin, published through Octopus Books. The Life of Tea. So the next book I want to talk about was another delight that, as much as I wanted to fly through it and devour it, I found that I couldn't because it was so rich. It was like eating the most decadent dessert you could think of, and you didn't get a sweet tooth afterward, you just wanted more. What am I talking about? This book I actually purchased on a lark because of going to the tattered cover. There's several locations in Colorado, and there's one right down the street from me. And so I walked in and I looked at the bargain section and I saw this book and I thought, oh my gosh, this intrigues me. I really have to read this, and I'm so glad I did. And that is The Paris Labyrinth by Gilles Legardinier. The Paris Labyrinth. This book was excellent. It combined history, it combined, it just combined everything. You know, I actually got tongue-tied. I was like, there's so much in it. I can't think of any of it right now, but I'll just read the back of it for you. Okay. In turn of the 20th century France, Vincent, an ingenious designer of secret passages, embarks on a thrilling adventure to unlock ancient mysteries in a quest for lost treasure. Along the way, he battles against dark forces as he tries to discern who he can trust while racing against the clock. Vincent knows what it means to keep a secret. With his troupe of talented craftsmen, his only family, he designs hidden compartments for priceless treasures and passages for undetectable escape routes. The rich and powerful who hire him pay handsomely for his work and for his discretion. As Paris hosts the 1889 World's Fair, the city fills with visitors who come to see the controversial new Eiffel Tower with its gravity-defying elevators, to discover the latest inventions from across the globe, or to scout for prospective investment opportunities. After Vincent takes on an urgent secret mission, his team suddenly becomes the target of attempted assassinations. In a race against time, as death licks at their heels, they puzzle over who could be behind the violence. A client trying to erase tracks to a secret? The dark forces of the occult somehow provoked by their work? Confronted with mysteries uncovered from the past and a life or death challenge that tests the limits of his ability, Vincent will do everything in his power to thwart the menace and protect his friends, if only he can survive. I found out this was actually, so far, the only book that Legardinier wrote that it has been translated into into English, excuse me. All of his other books are in French. So if you're fluent in French, you need to check out his works. But this book was a combination of history, intrigue, a little bit of fantasy. And at the very end, he wraps it up so nicely that I remember when I finished the book, my boyfriend was sitting next to me and I closed it and I went, just like that. Truly, truly an excellent read. It's like, have you ever been to a bookstore and you really weren't looking for anything in particular, and you just happen to find a book and you kind of thumb through it and you're like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And you get home and then you look up and it's like 2 days have passed and you're like, what just happened? This is how I felt about the Paris Labyrinth, so much so that I actually recommended that James read it, and he read it and he loved it as well. So for the Paris Labyrinth, I'm also giving it, it's my highest award in Viridian Tea House, 5 cups of tea. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Merci beaucoup. Truly a delightful livre. Okay, so that's the book portion part of the video. So next we're going to talk about some tea. Ooh. So I actually have 2. I was going to do 1, but then I was like, you know what, just do 2 of them. So several weeks ago, I was at work and we have a Whole Foods that's literally right next to the Crate and Barrel. And I walked in and I was getting my lunch and I saw this woman wearing this kind of red jacket, but my eyes went directly to the table because it said tea. And I went, yes. So I talked with the lady and she was like, oh, would you like to try our teas? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then I told her, what I do. And she's like, oh my God, that's so amazing. You're a certified tea specialist. That's so cool, blah, 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 blah. So we exchanged information and I'm so glad that I met her. But what tea am I talking about? Well, instead of hot tea, we're going to talk about iced tea today. This is through Tea Horse Road, 7 Teas. This one was a white peach oolong. Now, let me just say that for the record that normally with iced tea, it's either too sweet or it's bitter or they messed it up or whatever. This was simply divine. You could taste the white peach, and it was definitely white peach. It was not yellow peach. There is a difference. But white peach and the oolong and just the bare sweet worked so well together. So when I tried this one first at her table and I said, yes, I definitely want to buy some of this. And she was like, oh, that's really great. So once again, I think it's at other Whole Foods. I'm not sure. And I did check their website. It was under construction, but that was several weeks ago. So if you happen to go to, let's see, what is it? 7, just the number spelled out, teas, TEAS.com. This is the first one, white peach oolong. And actually, I'm keeping the bottle because look at the artwork on this. This is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I just think it would be nice to add to my tea collection. So then the other one that I tried, which is actually caffeine free, is the Berry Hibiscus Rooibos. And again, look at this artwork on this bottle. I mean, it's just fabulous. I'll go really slow. This one was actually a little bit sweeter, but it wasn't so sweet that all you tasted was just sugar. It was just fantastic. And actually, James I gave James samples of both of these, and he liked the rooibos way better. But yeah, so this is berry hibiscus rooibos through 7 teas. And then the first one was white peach oolong, also by 7 teas. Both great iced teas to try. Pick them up today. Like I said, they're probably at Whole Foods, so if there's a Whole Foods near you, try to look them up, or just go to their website and see if the website's up. Now, the other tea that I'm trying, which I actually made, which is a hot tea. This is through the company Fortnum and Mason. And the reason why I wanted to do this one today is because I recently made a new friend, and she is very much into reading, and she's very much into tea. And that's actually how one of the ways we initially connected. So we were out a couple days ago at this really cool French bakery in Denver. And she gave me, well, she pulled out her tin, and the tin was Divine Looking by Fortnum and Mason. But it is a flowery orange pekoe Darjeeling. Now, for those of you who don't know, Darjeeling, who comes from the Darjeeling area in India, underneath the Himalayas, it is known as the champagne of tea. And I've had some incredibly good Darjeeling in my tea life so far. So this, and I actually pulled it out of the teapot to show you. And if it falls out, well, that's just the way it goes. That's what steep Darjeeling looks like. So I let this steep for about 4 minutes. Didn't add any sugar, but this is what the Darjeeling, and it still smells very divine. Ooh, got my nose on there. So now, a new part of Viridian Tea House is I've gotten special mugs and cups just for this YouTube channel to kind of add to a little bit of the ambiance of a virtual tea house. So this I actually picked up at a convention I recently did in Colorado Springs. It was called Cosign. This is called a Sakura Celestial Dragon Cup. Isn't that beautiful? Unfortunately, I did not get the name of the artist, and I feel terrible about that, but look at this work. Simply divine. And in it is that Darjeeling steep. So without further ado, my first try. So what I'm tasting, it's actually cooled down quite a bit. I let the water get too hot, but what I'm tasting is slight citrusy, slight earthy, but it's a light tea for a Darjeeling. It's quite good. I've had some Darjeelings where it was really kind of, you know, very heavy, but still had a great taste to it. This, one more time. See, this is perfect for a day like today. We got hit with another snowstorm, so I'm probably not gonna really go out as much today, but this is perfect to have by your side on the couch or in the bed with a good book and you're wrapped up in a blanket. But this has a very good taste to it. I can see how some people would want to add sugar or some kind of sweetener to it, but honestly, you don't really need it. To me, the citrusy taste that I'm getting out of this is my sweet. Now, I have a horrific sweet tooth. Like I will chew gum and eat, you know, cupcakes and cakes and stuff like that. But when it comes to tea, I'm kind of discerning. Like I've said it before a million times that if you add sugar to a tea, yeah, it makes it sweet. But if you add honey to it, enhances the flavor of the tea. I mean, it's still sweet, but it's not just this overpowering sweet. So thank you very much, Fortnum and Mason, and to my tea friend Kathy for giving me this sample of the Darjeeling. This is quite a good tea. That really is lovely. I'm gonna have to buy some of this. Anyway, so before I wrap up with a meditation, I also want to talk about some new stuff that's been going on with me lately. For those of you who don't follow me on social media or didn't see it or whatever, 2 of my books are finally out thanks to the wonderful people at Paris Productions in Arkansas. The first is the first book, but the 3rd story for Agnes Viridian. Agnes Viridian, if you don't know, she started off in Paris Productions anthology called Black Pulp. She's an African-American sorceress who's also a detective. And she starts her story in Memphis in the Roaring 20s, where people come to her when the cops can't solve their case. So her first story started with Black Pulp, then it continued on with Black Pulp 2, and now the 3rd story, but first book of Agnes Viridian is called The Floating World of Agnes Viridian. And this time, Agnes and her friends, which you'll find out if you read the Black Pulp anthologies, end up in Japan. So I was really, really excited to write that story, and the sequel or the book coming after that is coming down the pike, but I've got a list of other books I need to write. It's not easy being a writer. So the other book that came out through Paris Productions is called Maven, and that was my first attempt to write cyberpunk. As many of you know, I'm really, really into cyberpunk, high-tech, low-life. Neuromancer is my Bible. And so yeah, Maven is, again, a lot of fun to write, a lot of fun to reread again and go, wow, that's a really good story. And there will be a sequel to that one as well. But for the most part, those 2 books, you can purchase them on Amazon. And as I always do with my tea company, there will be 2 new, sorry, 2 new tea blends. One for Maven and one finally for Agnes Viridian. So when those 2 tea blends are released, if you follow me on Instagram or if you follow the store on Etsy, then you'll find out when they're going to be out and when you can buy some. And I'm also going to be expanding with some of the flavors, so just be on the lookout. Anyway, so once again, let's talk about and giving 5 cups of tea to the Paris Labyrinth. Excellent, excellent book. Highly recommend it. And thank you, Tattered Cover, Aspen Grove, for having that book. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And also 5 cups of tea to The Life of Tea. Phenomenal read about everything and under the moon about tea. Also, much thanks to Tea Horse Road's 7 teas, once again, the white peach oolong and the berry hibiscus rooibos. Excellent, excellent iced teas. And then finally, the wonderful people at Fortnum and Mason, this divine Darjeeling. Last sip. Yeah, that's just really good. That's just awesome. So without further ado, let's wrap this up with a nice little breathing meditation. So get into a comfortable position, allow your shoulders to drop. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. One more time, in and out. And just breathe. If you find your thoughts straying, it's okay. In fact, it's quite normal to do that during meditation. Just label your thoughts as thinking and return to focusing on your breath. now, as we end this meditation, let's take one deep breath in and out. Slowly open your eyes, and we're back. Thank you again for being a part of this. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for taking some time out of your day or night to be a part of this little tea house. So until next time, and actually, I can tell you this, in the next video, I will be reviewing one of my dearest friends' books. This man is so incredible with his writing. In fact, I met him because I was a fangirl of his books, and I consider him to be a very dear friend of mine. So who am I talking about? You just got to wait until next week. But until then, take care, raise your celestial dragon mug high, and I'll see you next week. Bye.